Okay, so this next change I think is probably the change I'm most excited about. One of the biggest anxieties I've had to wrestle with as a youth pastor here is when the students that aren't coming, how do we still connect with them? And how do we connect with them in a meaningful way? Uh, Additionally, a second thing that I think I typically struggle with is that youth group, large group, is definitely catered, not catered, but it's more accessible just in a general sense to the extroverted kids and not necessarily the introverted kids. And for the longest time, it feels like, man, that's just not something, an obstacle that we can jump over. Much bigger conversation is just the role of what programmatic youth ministry looks like moving forward, especially in this COVID world where relational value is really up at its highest it's ever been. Is the way that we're even doing youth group the most efficient way of doing it? So I was having a conversation with a parent about their experience doing profession of faith with a student. And what struck me about it is as this person spoke, this student is currently in high school, and their leader does a phenomenal job. No questions about it whatsoever. But what struck me is it felt like this profession of faith leader, where they only spent 8 weeks together, was actually more close to this student than their leader was. And it really got me thinking, okay, if this student weren't involved in youth group, this might be their only avenue in which they can actually connect to spiritual formation opportunities as a youth at Hillside. And at the end of the day, one of our biggest values is it's been said in the past that for every 5 students, you should have 1 adult in their life. But really, a lot of research has suggested that number's got to be flipped. Every student, by the time they graduate high school in their church, should have 5 adults that they know that they can call. And this profession of faith leader was one of those people and will be one of those people for the student when they graduate. And so it really got me thinking, they don't have to be at youth group to be involved. They don't have to be at youth group grow closer to Jesus. They don't have to be at youth group for us to be able to confidently say we are ministering to them in some way, shape, or form. And so starting today, like right now, if any of you guys are listening to this and you're thinking that is a really cool option for my student and I want to take advantage of that, let me know. I will get you set up as soon as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide a mentoring track. And what that's going to look like is it's going to look very similar to Profession of Faith. Profession of Faith is an 8-week one-on-one question and answer based curriculum before they make their profession of faith. They meet every week. There's a set curriculum they go through. It's a really cool process. And what we're going to do is we're going to borrow that model, but change it up a little bit. So if we can think in 2 different categories, road trips and off and on ramps, right? Road trip is something you're committed to the entire year, and a lot of that, it's youth group, weekly commitment, going every week, you're in it for the long haul, right? But there's also these ministry opportunities we want to provide that are off ramps or on ramps, something you can get off for a little bit and then you can hop back on when you feel like it and continue the journey. And profession of faith and or mentoring, I think, is really what gives us the best option at that. And so whereas profession of faith is a set 8-week curriculum no matter what, and there's meetings that have to happen afterwards, we want to use the same model, but rather than having it be a set 8 weeks and using a same curriculum for everyone, if your student is interested in any sort of subject as it's related to their spiritual life, right? They're interested in growing in prayer, if they're interested in growing, learning about what the Bible says about certain social and culturally relevant issues. And if they don't feel like coming to youth group and or we're not addressing it in the way that they're really desiring, we want to be able to hook them up with adults in our congregation who might be particularly wise in that area. And what's different from profession of faith is typically we ask that to be one-on-one. Say your student has 2 or 3 friends that they know that, hey, we really want to talk about this subject and we want to grow deep in it and figure out what our faith, how it relates to this subject. They can have 2 people, they can have 5 people if they want. And then much like profession of faith, all I would ask, and I think that this will ultimately facilitate much better relational discipleship, is that they would provide me 3 names of people at the Hillside congregation. And if they can't provide them, I'll ask, hey, what's something that you're interested in? And we can try and facilitate that. But where that's really going to be helpful is it's going to give an opportunity for the students that aren't a part of our programs regularly, weekly, to still feel like there are people and there are adults at Hillside that care about them and who are pouring into them so that they can grow closer to Jesus. And so really, really excited about that. That can happen at any time. And yeah, I'm really, really hoping that this gives us confidence and also really a clear conscience in saying, hey, we have things available for each and every student. And it doesn't always have to look the exact same. As long as we're reaching them, as long as we're connecting with them, that's what's really important. And especially this mentoring option, I think, is going to provide a really great relational track. And so if you are interested, if your student is interested, if you have any further questions about that, I would love to answer them. This is something I'm super excited about, so I could talk for a very long time, or I can talk for as short as you'd like. So those are our really big updates. Hopefully this is encouraging to you. And as always, just shoot me a call or shoot me an email, and we'd love to chat with you. God bless.